every single friggin' TV and AV, receiver you have, and like having to know that this thing has 800 watts of power, but that's divided across 6 different channels, so it's really math, and I don't do math. So I ended up not going there, and I don't know how I found out about it. It may have been my girlfriend at the time. She worked at Best Buy, but she had friends that worked at Easton, and she told me, she says, well, Abercrombie & Fitch is hiring. Mm-hmm. And
just the store?
Just the store.
Okay.
The store. You go up, they actually did open interviews once a month. That was it. You had to go on that day. You had to go on that day. You had to dress for you dressed for the job. Mm-hmm. So I literally showed up in cargo shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That were non-Abercrombie.
Which is probably easier to do it that way if you're looking to interview people.
Yeah,
because then you block off one day and you just
and
get
people
it done.
Showed up in like suits and ties, and I'm like,
bruh.
I'm like, what are you?
Have you shopped here before?
What are you here for?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, it's open interview. It could be a management position. And I'm like,
an open interview for a management position?
Oh yeah, they did across the board. They just did interviews.
Oh, okay.
And if they decided that they thought that you might be a manager or manager material,
interesting,
they would try to bring you in to be an associate manager for the store. Right
off, without any floor experience?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because, most managers moved into, they would get the floor, they started as a manager and they worked the floor with everybody else. Mm-hmm. And then they either became a store manager or they went to a regional manager, but they learned all the ins and outs of just how the store functioned. Mm-hmm. They didn't really manage anybody. They just learned how the store functioned.
It was a facility.
For the most part.
Okay.
For the most part, yeah. So I came in, and they're like, well, we're starting, because this is our flagship store, and at the time, Easton was the flagship store.
I didn't know that they were out of Ohio.
Yeah, they're out of New Albany now. So they're like, the flagship store, we need a team of people. We're gonna team of guys, team of girls, manager. You are an overnight staff. You'll be out of here. We close at 10, 11, depending on,
what day?
The day and the season. You should be out of here by 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So you're an overnight crew. You're going to reset the store every day.
Jesus.
And I'm like, cool. So
that sounds like a pain in the ass.
It was a blast.
Well, you don't got to worry about people.
You don't have to. You're not dealing with customers, which the customers weren't terrible. It's not like you had to remember what the inseam of a pair of pants were, or you didn't have to do any of that shit anyway. But it was the customers weren't. You had a couple that were just Karens, but it was like you would come in, the store's still open when you get there, and you just start folding clothes, and you just start folding clothes, and you just start folding clothes. After the store closed down, that's when cans of soda and pizza parties and all the shit happened. We would order, damn near every night I ate Donato's pizza and drank, Dr. Peppers and Cokes. Because they fed us.
They did?
Oh, yeah, we're there. The company fed us.
Oh, wow.
Every night.
That's a huge bonus.
Yeah, it was awesome.
If you're a broke college kid.
No, and on top of that, I was making $2 over minimum wage. Because it was considered a third shift.
Okay.
So they paid
shift differential.
They paid extra. I mean, it wasn't significant, but they paid extra. It was good. But we'd have rubber band fights because everything comes rolled in rubber bands. So you just take rubber bands off. You got rubber bands around your wrist. You pull them up.
Shooting them at people.
You start shooting them at each other across and we got good at it. We got real good, sniper good. Picking people off, running across the one side of the store. You're think, just done.
Watch out, object on road ahead.
So, did that for a while, and then kind of, these weird situations where I always end up in weird situations that...
It's kind of your thing?
Yeah, and they don't seem weird at the time.
Until they get weird.
Until it's you're standing here talking to the president of the company, and you're just some asshole folding clothes. Mm-hmm. And the president of the company walks up and starts carrying a conversation with you. Mm-hmm. So... I just got into these weird situations. So, with that, one day, we were resetting the floor for a different season. So, everything had to come down. Like, all the clothes came
Wait,
came out.
so back up, though. Like, so every night you would
We would fold everything. Like,
so you were just refacing the store.
basically just, yeah.
But you weren't like rearranging the store.
Not every night, no.
Okay.
Just it was called a reset.
Okay.
It was the daily reset. You'd come in, there's a pile of shirts there. That pile of shirts needs to be folded into this nice, neat stack.
Okay.
And then sometimes we folded with paper, and sometimes we didn't fold with paper, which is a whole other, like, that's a whole other weird thing that I wasn't a huge fan of because it didn't meet the brand standard at the time. So I'm standing there, and I'm at the front of the store. We're closed, but we know we've been given word that the CEO, Mike Jeffries at the time, was coming to the store, and the manager was supposed to be at the front of the store to greet him. I happened to be at the front of the store, and Marie was nowhere to be found. I'm just making up names for managers. Yeah. So she was nowhere to be found. So the doors are locked, and the vice president, who is and was a complete dick, shows up first, and he's easily 30 minutes early than what we were told. And I'm standing there, and I'm folding some shirts. I've got like a pile of clothes on the floor, and I'm like picking them up, folding. He starts like banging on the glass door, not like a nice,
like a little rap,
like a knock. He is like full-fledged,
like SWAT team.
Yeah, like boom, 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 open the door, ATF. And I turn around, and he's standing. Dave. His name was Dave. Fuck him. His name's Dave. He's standing there, and he's like looking at me, like giving me the what the fuck.
Yeah.
And I look at him, and I'm like, we're closed. I didn't know who he was. I'm like, we're closed. And he was like, I know you're closed. Open the door. I'm like, no, we're closed.
Yeah.
So this did not set precedent between Dave and I, like right off the bat, when him and I first met.
Because he expected you to know who he was?
He expected me to know who he was. And I'm like, this is like 3 months into working there that I ended up meeting the vice president. And he starts banging on the door again, and then one of the assistant managers came up, and he's like, why is that guy banging on the door? I'm like, I don't know who the fuck he is. I said, he's crazy. Yeah. He wants me to let him in. He's like,
I feel threatened.
Yeah, he's like, don't let him in. He goes, we're closed. He's dressed head to toe in Abercrombie, which should have been a sign, but it's Easton, so
yeah,
it's
Easton. It's what, the 90s?
It's the early
2000s. Yeah,
it's like late.
Who wasn't
99,
wearing Abercrombie back then?
Like late 99, early 2000s. And he continues to bang on the door. Well, Maria comes up. She goes, let him in. I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay. And I unlock the door, and the first words out of his mouth, you don't know who I am. I'm like, nope. He's like, I am David Lano. I am the vice president of this company. And I'm like,
oh, nice to meet you, Dave.
Okay, great. I said, I didn't know who you were. I said, maybe you could have yelled that through the window, like at the glass. Maybe I would have let you in. He's like, what's your name? I'm like, we'll go with Martelle. He's like, I'm having Marie write you up. I'm like, for what? Not letting you in? I said...
Not letting you in after hours?
I said, I'm doing the store a favor. I said, that's a security risk. You know that, right? I said, it doesn't take a genius to realize. I said, I don't know who you are. I've never seen you. I don't know you. We've never met. Well, none of this sat well with Dave.
Apparently, I would imagine not. Dave doesn't sound like that kind of guy.
Dave is a dick. So anyway, I'm up there, and I just go back to folding shirts. I'm like, fuck this guy, whatever. I don't give a shit. So I go back to folding my shirts, and about 10 minutes later, a guy named Brandon shows up. And he is the lead he was the lead floor set designer. And a floor set is basically how the store is laid out.
The scanograms, all that. Or planograms,
so he's got everything, where all the mannequins should be, all the forms, what the walls look like. He's got all this shit. He shows up. I know who this guy is. He's been in the store several times, and him and I have had like a couple conversations because I didn't fold shirts to his liking. Which, if you've ever worked in retail, clothing, like textile retail, you have a board. The board has a certain width. You lay the board, you fold everything, and then you pull the board out and you set it down. Yeah. Well, that was like his biggest thing, is he hated the folding on the board. Well, that's what we were
get us
supposed to
different
use.
boards.
Well, it wasn't even get us different boards. It was just get rid of the boards.
That too.
So him and he comes in, and then I left the door unlocked because there's people now just streaming in and out of this store. Like the entire like executive leadership team is in the store at this point, other than Mike, and they're all in the back of the store, and it's just me in the front of the store. Mike walks through the door. I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, hey." He's like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just folding some shirts." And I didn't know who he was either. And he's like, "Oh, that's great." He goes, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Brandon Martelle." "What's your name?" He's like, "Mike Jeffries." I'm like, "Oh, you're the CEO guy." And he's like, "Yeah."
You're the dude.
I'm like, "You're the guy. You're the guy everybody's here for." And he's like, "Yeah, that's me." I'm like, "Great." I said, "Everybody's in the back." He's like, "Why are you the one up here, like, greeting me?" He's like, "Where's Marie?" And I'm like, "She's in the back with everybody else." I said, I said, "We're resetting the store." I said, "Well, I'm folding this." I said, "This is what I'm doing." And he's like, "Great." He goes, "Hey, it was good talking to you." He's like, he goes, "Let's catch up sometime."
I'm like, yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah, whatever. It's president of the company.
Yeah,
Fuck
Mike.
off. Yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Fuck off, Mike. Get out of here. So he goes and does his thing. Brandon comes running up. He's like, "What did Mike say?" I'm like, "You just want to know my name and ask what I was doing." I'm like, "I'm just folding some clothes. No big deal." And he's like, "Oh." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "He didn't say anything like that the floor, like we haven't started resetting the floor yet." And I'm like, "No. Why would he tell me that?" So they go on. They start doing this floor reset. So they're walking through the store, starting at the front of the store on the men's side. And basically, they're going table by table, wall by wall, on a Xerox copy in a binder. And they're all looking over Brandon's shoulder. So you've got 10 people standing around him as he's like in the middle of this crowd of people that are getting ready to go, on 3, Abercrombie, 1, 2, 3, Abercrombie. And so they're all looking at this thing and they're making changes, and he's writing down the changes because next week is when we actually do seasonal reset.
Sure.
So they do all this stuff a week ahead of time and try to figure out what's going to be what.
But this is going to be for like the entire network.
Yeah. So this is
every store is going to look like this.
Yeah, we'll do the first round, and then in a month,
Watch out, hazard
all the stores
ahead.
across the U.S. that have this same layout will follow this plan.
Yeah.
So they're all doing that stuff, and the meeting's over. Like, we're still folding clothes. The meeting's over. Mike's like, "Hey," he's like, if you're ever up at the office, he's like, "Stop into my office to say hi."
For sure, Mike.
Okay, yeah, great. So he leaves. I'm like, why would I ever be at the office?
Yeah.
So, and again, this is like 3 months into the job. Brandon comes over to me, and he's like, "All right, this wall," and it's like this, it's the whole wall across the front of the store. He's like, "This wall needs to have 500 pieces of denim in it." He goes, "We have an order coming in." He goes, "I want you to prep." He goes, "I need you to prep this wall here, and every shelf has to have 5 to 7, depending on the height of the shelf, 5 to 7 pieces of denim in it." So jeans. Mm-hmm. He's like, "And they need to be folded to get it in there." And I'm like, "That we can't do that with the way that we fold jeans today." He's like, "Figure it out." I'm like, "Figure it out?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm leaving it to you to figure." He goes, "Figure it out." He goes, "It's not." He goes, "I don't have time to deal with this." He goes, "I don't have time to babysit people." Brandon was kind of an asshole. Mm-hmm. Imagine that. It's in the name. He's just like, "I don't have time to fucking babysit you people here." He goes, "Fucking figure it out." So in the process of 2 hours of refolding, I think it was 6 shelves, like trying to figure out how to get so many jeans into each slot, I developed a new fold for their jeans on how they displayed things.
And you got 0 credit for it?
No. I got 1% credit for that. I got a store associate figured it out.
Insert random name.
Yeah, it was just like, Jimmy Joe over there figured it out.
Just like on the movie credits, cast member 1.
Yeah, it was. That's exactly what it is. Like, a store associate figured out how to do this because Mike was insistent that this be a denim wall. What sucked was redoing that wall every night like having to refold a majority of all the jeans every night but the fold that I developed only had 3 folds in it.
So it was more efficient.
So it was a hell of a lot more efficient trying to get all this. And it took 2 or 3 people to do the wall, and that's all they worked on. Like, they didn't do anything else. There was no folding of shirts or straightening hangers and doing all the other stuff. But anyway, so then I was talking to Brandon, and I was talking to Stacy, which is his counterpart, and they basically said, hey, we have this opening. There's an opening coming up at the office. You should come in and do an interview.
Watch out, hazard reported ahead.
It was basically an associate buyer for the company, like a merchant. So I was supposed to be buying, like...
the next season shit.
Well, like buying whatever it was. If it was T-shirts, I was... ordering and working with designers to figure out how many T-shirts we were going to order based on what was allocated and new designs and things like that. Well, I went for the interview, and I show up, and I'm decked out in Abercrombie stuff because at the office, that's what they wore as well. It wasn't like suit
wasn't a suit and tie joint.
No. And I go for the interview, and I interviewed in 3 different departments with 6 different people. I went and interviewed in T-shirts, and that went well. Then I went to men's pants, and that went fantastic. And then I went to accessories. Well, typically at the time I would wear like watches, and I had necklaces, and I had
watch out, crash reported ahead.
a couple bracelets that I would wear. I went in with none of that on because we weren't allowed to wear it in the store.
Interesting.
Like, unless it was Abercrombie based, we couldn't wear it. Well, none of the shit that I had is Abercrombie based jewelry. Whoa, that's an accident. That dude went, oh shit, that is a semi truck upside down.
Yeah.
So.
In a ditch.
Well, how the hell do you even do that?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out in my head.
Over a bridge, an overpass. So I went in. And I'm like, I love accessories. But as you can see, I'm not wearing any because I don't own any Abercrombie accessories. But
why is that?
I'm like, because I just started. So I was only at the store for like a total of maybe 9 months, 6 to 9 months at this point. And I get a call back, and they're like, hey, it's this guy named Ron. He's like, I really liked your interview. He's like, I did not interview with this guy. But he's like, I really liked your interview. He goes, I eavesdropped on it. He's like, I'm the manager of men's pants. It gets so much better because I'm just like, I worked in men's pants. He's like, I'm the manager of men's pants. He goes, we do denim and khakis and outerwear and stuff like that. He goes, I want to hire you. He goes, I want to hire you to come in and be an assistant buyer. He goes, and you'll come. He goes, there's a variety of things you'll do. He goes, you're not actually going to be buying. He goes, but it is. He goes, it's a significant pay bump. He goes, and I want you to start in 2 weeks. We'll take care of the migration from the store to the shop or to the office. I said, oh, all right, great. Yeah, I accept, Yeah. At this point, I walk in, I was making...
Don't even know how much you're getting paid. You're like, I'll take it.
I'll just take it. Yeah, there was no talk of what I was going to get paid. It was just...
It's going to be more than what you were making now.
Yeah, it was like, so whatever, minimum wage at the time was like $7.50, so I was making $9.50, I think is what it was. And the bump was to $15.50.
So you almost doubled your shit.
Yeah, I doubled my pay and then went to working... basic 40 hours a week.
Now you can eat at Sizzler.
Yeah.
Sizzler,
shit, Ponderosa.
Did they have Sizzler out here?
No.
Okay.
That's what.
It's just like Ponderosa.
Yeah, it's like Ponderosa though. So I go and I'm back at the store, so I've got 3 weeks left at the store, and everybody knew I was there. Like, holy shit, you're one of the lucky ones. You're going to the office.
You're going to the show.
They're like, you're big time now. Like you don't get 25% off and three 50% offs a season to buy stuff. You get a blanket 40% off of everything and an ID card. I'm like, holy shit. You act like I've never worked corporate before. So I go up there. Well, I'm at the store one day. Dickhead Dave comes in and just starts his shit with me. Like, he would do it randomly. Like, he would come in, if I was in the store, he would just start shit. Well, this one time, this last time he started shit, he just comes in, and I was working during the day. Like, I was filling in for somebody, so I was going to work the day shift, and I was going to fall into the third shift and just continue to work. And like the first, it was, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was more along the lines of, what the fuck are you doing here? Because it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm
working. Yeah.
And I'm like, excuse me? And he's like, what are you doing here? He goes, aren't you third shift? He's like, I got to do something about this.
What?
And I'm like, what is your problem, Dave?
Yeah.
And it all stems back to me not letting him in. So 9 months later, he's still holding this grudge. And he said something. Ahead. I'm like, good luck with that, Dave. I said, I work at the home office now, so I'll
see you Monday.
I'll fucking see you there. And he's like, what? And I said, oh yeah? I said, I'm working for Ron now. I said, he goes, I'll never get rid of you. I'm like, no, you won't. I said, I am like a fucking...
I'm like a pimple on your ass.
I'm a leech. I just latch on and I'll never let go. And I would run into him in the office. Once I got to the office, completely different attitude. He treated everybody in the store like shit. Treated me like shit especially, but just treated everybody in the store
like they were second-class citizens.
Yeah. The minute I got to the office, like, hey, Martelle. I'm like, you don't get to call me that. I said, my friends call me that.
You were not my friend.
You and I said, we will not be interacting anymore. I said, because we're not in the same meetings and I'm not in the store. I said, I'm not just some piece of shit you can step on and keep walking. Well, I just...
No, I don't.
He's like, being in the, I got a whole... I'm like, I don't want your excuses. Like, it is not an excuse to treat people like shit because you're from the office and you think you need to have a power trip in a store.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, you get 40% off at every store no matter where you go.
Uh-huh. You just show them your ID.
You show them your corporate ID, and
I'm Martelle.
It's boom.
Yeah.
And actually, that was on my first name was never on my ID.
Yeah.
I somehow was able to just get it with my last name. But I would go to like Youngstown, and I'd go to the Boardman Mall where they had one, and it wasn't a power trip thing. It was more just to see people panic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was never like I walked in and was like, oh, I'm from fucking home office and blah, 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 blah.
Your shit's fucked up.
I would walk in and I would pick up whatever I needed because Toronto is only 45 minutes from Boardman. So when I would go home, I would take my sister and we would go up to Youngstown. I'd buy her some shit. And you'd walk in, I'd buy everything I need, and they'd be like, that'll be... And I would lay my corporate card down.
Oh, no, like, my friend.
They're like,
shit. We got one inside the gate. We got one inside the gate.
Oh, shit. And then the manager would come running out, and they would start apologizing, like, I can't, sorry that the store is in such a disarray. We should have, because they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
It just says Martelle, Abercrombie and Fitch, and that is it. It is a white card with your photo on it and your name on it.
Oh, it doesn't say, like, I work in men's pants?
No, it doesn't say I work in men's pants. And that is it. That's all it says. So they don't know who you are. You could be, just the guy who's sitting at the front desk answering phones. Yeah. You could be an executive. They don't know. Mm-hmm. And everybody dresses the same, and they all fucking look the same. So, and the manager, he's like, sorry, the store's in, such a mess. And I'm like, dude, it's 1 o'clock on a Saturday. I would not expect this store to be like
pristine.
Yeah. I said, I've worked in the stores. I said, I get it. I said, by the way, I'm nobody.
Yeah.
They're like, what? I'm like, I'm nobody. I said, I just work at the home office. They're like, what do you do? I'm like, I buy pants. I work in men's pants. They're like, you work in... I'm like, yeah. I said, those pants...
I bought.
Yeah. And they got allocated to your store. And they're like, oh. I said, not everybody that works at the office is an asshole. It's going to come in here and throw a fit. So they're like, well, we had a guy in here last week that...
Dave?
I'm like,
was it Dave?
Was it Dave?
Yeah.
And he was like, who knows what it is? Could have been Bruce. Who knows? And it's just like, it's one of those things like, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
But it was fun to watch him like kind of freak out and then explain to them that,
I'm Joe Schmo.
Just a dude,
yeah.
No big deal. I'm just a dude. So, but that's working there was a blast. Like, I've got so much free clothes while I was working there. It was one of the perks. Like,
at the headquarters?
Yeah, it was an underlying perk. Everybody took clothes from headquarters. I had bags, so my job entailed, basically, I didn't order anything necessarily. I put the order in, but I didn't order.
But you were ordering things that were already on the inventory.
I was ordering, SKUs.
Yeah.
Like, I would go into an ordering system, and I would plug in, okay, I need this much, this much, this much, this much, and then give me, I want 3 of each size of each color.
Oh, so you
sent to my desk.
Okay, so you could just kind of check them out.
So I could, do tolerances and make sure the color's correct. Make sure color's correct. That was my job. My job was to make sure that.
Oh, you're like quality control.
I did a lot of quality control. I did a lot of ordering. I worked with the factories, but I never actually went to the factories to make sure that they were doing what they were supposed to. So I never went to Sri Lanka. That was the associate buyer's job.
So you were like quality control / supply chain.
I was bitch.
Yeah. So you were doing all the bitch. Okay.
I was doing all the bitch work that the associate buyer should have been doing,
but didn't want to do. So I was, and it actually came to a point where I was training new buyers that were coming in because in everything to do other than go to the factories. Yeah.
So I was training all these guys coming in. They all came into men's pants. We all hung out in men's pants. And I would train them on the whole process from beginning to end. Sit down with them, and we would go over it. We'd spend a week doing all this stuff, like measuring and checking tolerances and checking color grade and checking all of this shit.
So you were training people that were going to be your boss?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I did that for 3 years there.
Oh, so you worked there for a minute.
I was there for a good while. I was at Abercrombie for about 4.5 years.
Okay.
But I would put in an order, and the order goes, I didn't do it by store. How did I do that? Okay, so I would put in the order in total, and that order went to the factory.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the order came in, I got the order back, and then I would put in a request for samples. And I burned so much clothing while working there. Because if it didn't work, like if it didn't fit, it didn't meet tolerance.
Yeah, then you got to start over, right?
You got to reorder.
Yeah.
So I would copy an order, send it back, and then I would send shit to burn. Well, some of the stuff that got sent to burn would sit in bags at my desk. So I had, at one point...
When you say burn, like this isn't going to market.
No, okay. Like it went to the incinerator. Like it legitimately got burned.
Jesus.
Because
you couldn't repurpose them, like give them to
right.
Goodwill or something.
No, we would never do that.
Wow.
We would never take it because it was more of a write-off to have to destroy.
Oh, versus donating it.
Versus a donate.
Not shrink, but what do they call it? There's a term for.
I don't know what that term is.
Yeah.
I can't think of that term, but yeah,
they were prototypes essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would shop online, I would get online. I had a corporate card, and I would get on, and I would go shopping at competitors, and buy shit, have it sent to me. I would have stuff sent from overseas, from Italy, and I would have stuff sent, buyers, the buyer would they'd go on these shopping trips overseas.
To see what other
trends are happening, yeah. And then they would send everything back to me, and I would go through and measure everything out and work with the clothing designers to reverse engineer something that they wanted to do. And it was a lot of fun. It was a fucking blast working there. The frayed hats weren't really a thing until Abercrombie started doing them back in
the distressed
stuff.
Yeah.
Distressed jeans. You couldn't go buy distressed jeans. Not to say that Abercrombie's the one who started that shit.
Yeah.
But I helped create the process for Abercrombie to stress jeans, because we were stressing jeans in the store. We were making them look worn in the store.
Monica worked for one of those companies. I don't know if it was Abercrombie & Fitch, but that was her job, was to distress jeans somewhere in Middletown.
Yeah.
I had jeans that were the one pair of jeans I had when I worked in the store, or two pair were distressed. Like I went at them with like a serrated knife and an emery board.
Yeah.
To distress the shit out of them, and we they're like, oh, how did you do that? And I went over and I grabbed a pair of jeans out of a bag and asked one of the women on the team for if she had an emery board, and I just went through and I this is all I did. I just roughed it up with an emery board and just around the pockets. We didn't do the holes and all the other shit. That came like way later. And they're like, holy shit. I'm like, that's all I did. Like we can. Well, then they ended up wanting to do distressed jeans, so they developed a process at the factory for that based on someone actually sitting down with an emery board at a factory.
That sounds like...
And doing the cuffs of the pants, the waist, and the pockets, the seams on the pockets. Well, then in the hat department, because all my hats were distressed as well, just from wear.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't something I did. Gentleman's name was Eric, cool guy. He was in charge of all the hats. Same thing. He's like, how'd you get your hat distressed? I'm like,
wearing it.
This is old. I said, but I have an idea. And he's like, you have an idea? I'm like, yeah. I said, you want to distress hats? I said, look at this. I said, there's plastic under that.
Yeah.
I said, double fabric that. I said, and distress the top layer of the fabric so the plastic's not showing through.
Huh.
No, like I said, and then use an emery board, and they were able to get a prototype of a double-lined hat that had the fabric on it, and then they gave it to me, and we went through and distressed it the way that they wanted to do it, and that's how they started with the distressed hats back then. It kind of set a lot of process for some of the stuff that we did at Abercrombie back in the day that never really got credit for. Not that I was looking for it, but...
Bullshit, you should have got juice for that, man.
Yep.
Like, get some...
part of the job.
In perpetuity, get some juice, some kickbacks for that, man. Just like I said, you should still get...
Like,
you should be getting free cognac, like, I still think.
I'm with you on that. I think I should be getting cognac, too. But I got so much free clothes out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I would come home... Like, because those samples that sat behind me, those never went to the store.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they never got reallocated back into anything because we over-ordered on purpose.
So you could test and everything.
So that we could test. But we didn't over-order based on what I needed. We just over-ordered, and then we would have stuff sitting in the warehouse ready if someone needed... If for whatever reason there was a run on, this certain denim... Then we had 20 or 30 pairs of these pants in various sizes that we could just ship out to a store overnight if they needed because they ran out.
Because they were running hot.
Yeah. So I would have, at one point I think I took up the desk beside me. So we had the tables we sat at were these, they were basically 6 foot wide by 4 foot deep tables. And they had 4 of them in a stack. And then they had this frosted plexiglass shit.
Like drafting tables?
Yeah, well, kind of. They were more like a kitchen table. And then they had this frosted plexiglass stuff in between them as dividers so that you had a little bit of privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only people that didn't have the frosted glass were managers. They got a full 8 foot by 6 foot desk. And then, so you would have, they could see directly across, whereas I couldn't see directly across. But I ended up taking up the other desk because I just had samples everywhere. I had so much shit sitting around, and because I'm measuring and I'm throwing shit back, and I'm writing down all these tolerances of everything. Well, then that stuff would sit there, and then I would throw it in a bin for it to go back. But Ron, in his infinite wisdom of all the shit that I was doing for the department, he's like, "You want to take a pair of jeans? Grab a pair of jeans. You need a pair of sweatpants? Grab a pair of sweatpants."
Well, it's just sitting there anyway.
He's like,
it's already been paid for.
It's paid for. It's sitting there. It's going to go back. It's going to go back to the warehouse, and then it's going to sit for another 9 months until they have what's called the sample sale. And the sample sale is all the samples that have been bought overseas from competitors, all the leftover, the stuff that I would have sitting at my desk, would all go to the sample sale, and it would literally just get dumped on a table, and then you just go through and sort through stuff, pick through. But I would always do sample sale at my desk because then I could get what I wanted, and then send stuff back. And then we hired another guy named Ben, I think was his name, doesn't matter. Ben took it to a whole new level.
Oh shit!
Which stopped
The sample
the sample sale at the
yes.
death.
There's always one asshat that
Ben, God love him, but he fucking took an entire bag of clothes. Like, he just picked it up and walked out with it.
all the same jeans, different sizes.
Same jeans, different sizes. Just
Yeah.
up and walked out. I'm like, what the fuck? You can't. One pair. You put it in your bag.
A pair.
Yeah, one. Single. That's it. One pair. You put it in your bag, you roll it up, you put it in your bag, and then you walk out. You're not, this isn't like...
Discretion, Ben. Discretion.
This isn't something that you should be doing. Like, this is literally stealing.
Estimated time in traffic, 10 minutes.
But we're being told that we can.
Like, Ben, does this look shady to you? You know why it does? Because it's fucking shady.
Because it's, yeah, he was taking the shit and he was...
Selling it?
No, he was giving it to friends.
Oh, okay. Oh, well.
Which is almost as bad.
Yeah.
So it was just this whole thing, and I
at least he wasn't flipping it.
No, he wasn't flipping it. But he was kind of like this, he wasn't homeless, but he fucking drove around in this shitty minivan, and he was in a reggae band, he smelled to high heaven, and he's just this white dude with dreads.
He smelled like a stoner.
Yeah. He smelled like patchouli oil.
Well, there's a certain, patchouli. There's a certain scent that white guys with dreads have.
Yeah, and it was just... It was bad. Like, it wasn't like go to HR bad, but it was like
Go to HR.
get a toothbrush and go at that shit. Like, I know you want to have dreads, but just, at least use a toothbrush on your scalp.
Shit. Get some of that dead flesh.
Yeah, just do something, because you're literally rotting away. And nice guy. Had his flaws, like taking an entire bag and fucking it for everybody. Because we would all get, I could get shirts from the shirt department. Or I could get
because there were just shit laying around.
Because there's shit laying around, and we all, we would exchange.
Yeah.
Like, I was in men's pants. This girl needs, she needs a pair of pants for her boyfriend.
I need a hat.
I need a hat.
Yeah.
I'll hook you up. And it was like an internal bartering system.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Well, it's like when I used to work at the pizza place. We would trade pizza for ice cream or Mexican food or whatever.
Yeah, and it was great, and that all got fucked. But I ended up getting let go. I'm going to say let go. I think I quit before they could fire me in one sentence. Like, they said something, I'm like, fuck you, I quit. Before they could actually fire me. Mm-hmm. But I ended up getting fired.
Well, then you can collect unemployment.
Yeah, I didn't have to.
Estimated time in traffic, 10 minutes.
Oh, we're going to be in traffic for 10 minutes. I didn't have to collect unemployment. I went on and that's when I went to Columbus Car Audio. It was like the next week. But I got fired for like a bunch of bullshit. So I was hourly and I had to fill out a timesheet manually. And this timesheet was like an A11 style piece of paper. Not like your standard 8.5 by 11. It was like this big friggin'
like a legal pad,
even bigger than that. And I had to it was just me, and I had there were 20 spaces on this timesheet, and it's just me, and I'm writing in my name.
What was this? Was this fucking like 1987?
Damn near. I mean, it was like I said, 2003.
And you're filling out paper timesheets.
Filling out paper timesheets, and I'm just like, okay, so I was here, and I didn't work full time. I maybe worked 36 hours because I'm still going to school. Like, I went back to school and started at Columbus State because they started up a multimedia department, which is led into what I do today. But so I'd work like 36 hours, and then a manager had to sign off on my timesheets.
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
I worked in men's pants for 3 years, and they moved me to Hollister.
Oh, I didn't know that was part of...
Yeah, Hollister. They moved me to Hollister, and I had to work for this bitch. Like...
And you say that in a loving way.
Yeah, so loving. Like, loving is I would just take glee of watching her fall off a cliff. She was such a prude. Like, when we're talking, like, when Abercrombie had posters of half-naked men and women in the stores, maybe a tit showed occasionally.
Some side boob.
You got a side boob. You may get a little nipple flash, a little areola there. This is the company that she worked for, and she did not agree with it.
And she continued to work for them.
Continued to work for them. So she ran her team. There was no cussing. There was a gigantic poster in this building of one of the dudes, and he was naked from head to toe. He was naked. He was just cupping his junk, and that was the photo hanging on the wall. Mm-hmm. Every week she put in a request to have that taken down. So they took it down. What they put up? A naked woman holding her boobs.
What an asshole! Whoever did that,
it was great. So, and she had a swear jar.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. And she was just a total bitch about everything. Like, if you said "damn it," that'll be $1 in my swear jar.
Excuse me?
I'm like, no. And there was a price on words. Like, shit was $2, damn it was $1, hell was $1, fuck was $5. And that's where fuck became a pause for me. Like, that's where it actually became a word that gets used, like, when I'm
like
thinking,
punctuation?
Like, yeah, we're going to go do that, huh? Fuck? Like, it just literally became the end of a sentence. Because it irritated her so much. And I think at one point, she actually counted. And I think I racked up about $65 in fucks. And she wanted me to put $65 in her swear jar so she could go buy shoes.
What?
I'm like, fuck no.
You can kiss my ass.
Kiss my fucking ass. And
it's like that. Was it the Miller Lite commercial?
Yeah.
Where they were, all the money in the swear jar will use to buy Miller Lite.
Yeah. I was just like, holy shit.
Can you pass me the pen? Can you pass me the pen? Can you pass me the fucking pen?
Swear jar. So she did that shit. And
so she can buy shoes. That sounds like unlawful enrichment.
It was a lot of wrong going on there. But when they went to move me over there, I already knew about, like, her. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
do not put me. Yeah.
Don't put me there. She needs help. I'm like, take Ben.
You're throwing other
Ben.
people. Yeah.
I'm like, I can't.
I can't do that.
I can't work with that. And I was there for maybe 3 weeks, and every day I would go into HR and I'm like, you need to move me. I'm not the problem. You need to move me.
I'm not the problem.
Like, she's doing this thing. Please move me.
I find it offensive.
Like, I can't. And they're like, well, that's just the way she is. I'm like, yeah, but I can't work under those conditions. Like, it is ridiculous. Like, it is dead quiet.
I'm not 12 years old.
Yeah. It was dead quiet. Like, there's music playing throughout the entire company all the time. Mm-hmm. But there were volume controls on the walls. Well, we were the only ones in this building. Whoop. She turned down the volume on the lower floor where we were at. And it was, like, you could hear a pin drop because no one talked.
It was just super sterile.
Yeah, no one talked. It was the worst environment I've ever worked in. Finally, they moved me. She complained.
That they moved you?
Yeah, she started making up all this shit, like that I wasn't putting in orders and I wasn't doing them right.
That's the best reason for you to not be there.
She was going in and modifying the orders.
Oh, and
luckily, it tracked history.
Ooh.
She was going in and modifying the orders and fucking the orders up and trying to set me up. And they said, well, you ordered this. I'm like, I said, you have access to the ordering system? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, give me your laptop. I logged in under my login into the ordering system. And I brought up, I'm like, this is what I ordered. This shows what I ordered right here. Here's everything. I went to the next one down, and all it had was everybody had ID numbers. I said, that's not my ID number, and I didn't make that change. Whoever made that change is doing this. Mm-hmm. So they come back and they're like, well, she made the changes because I didn't know at the time who did it. Mm-hmm. She made the changes, but she told you that she needed the changes made, so she went in and made them herself. I said, but she's telling you that I'm not putting them in correctly based on what's in there now.
She's lying to you.
I said, yeah, she's lying to you. Like, the order, here's the order. Like, I don't take a verbal order. It's got to come from the order. It's got to come from the allocators. The orders come from the allocators, not from her. So that was the whole thing. Finally, they moved me. Well, she continued to continuously try to throw me under the bus for shit. Like,
because you won?
Yeah, because
you escaped?
I got away from her grubby mitts.
Wow.
Not her callous, fucking cursing mitts.
I hope she felt better about herself for that.
Oh, she doesn't. She ended up moving to HR, from what I heard.
Oh, that's even better. That's the perfect place for her. Yeah.
So I ended up going to Shirts, and in that time frame of moving to Shirts is when she moved to HR. Well, then she just made life a living hell. And I ended up getting fired because she literally got me fired. But when they fired me, the guy that fired me, I hung out with.
Time in traffic, 8 minutes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I hung out with this guy. Like, we would go out and hit
so he told you it was coming?
Nope.
Oh.
Which pissed me off. One. Because they called me up at 8 o'clock in the morning when I got in. And he's like, so, I'm like, are you firing me? He's like, well, we've got, there's a series of complaints. I'm like, from Helen? He's like, well, they're anonymous. I'm like, from Helen? I said, what are these complaints, Kev? And he's just like, well, we've got, abuse of corporate credit card. I'm like, abuse of corporate credit card? I said, I haven't used that credit card in 2 years. I said, how can it be abuse of corporate credit card? And he's like, well, and then there's messing around online when you should be doing work. I'm like, hold on, messing
around. Where's it documented?
I'm like, hold on, messing around online. Oh, you mean competitive shopping for the buyers that are asking me to go out and find stuff and email them to them? I said, that messing around online when I should be doing work? I said, or the chatting with you on AOL Instant Messenger, trying to figure out what we're going to do for lunch yesterday, messing around online and not doing work. Well, then, there's the AOL Instant Messenger. I'm like, motherfucker, you have that. Like, you have it. You and I were talking on that yesterday. And he's just like, look, he's like, man, he goes, I don't want to do this. He goes, but I'm like, here's the fucking card. And I just threw my ID at him and
just
it was cheating on timesheet. That was the other one. Cheating on your timesheet. I'm like, how the fuck can I cheat on my timesheet? I said, I have to handwrite everything. And I said, and then it has to be signed off
by a manager.
By a manager. I said, I get here at 8. I said, and I leave at 2. Most days. Like, how is that cheating on my timesheet? I said, if I was here at like 8 and I left at like 8 o'clock at night and I was putting in a bunch of 12-hour days and taking in all this overtime,
that would be inappropriate.
I said, but I'm barely here. I said, I'm here maybe 30 to 36 hours in total. I said, I'm basically part-time. And then that's when he was like, I don't want to. He's like, and I just like whipped my cart. Like,
you would have had a good wrongful termination.
Oh, it was, well, I ended up, so my neighbor who lived upstairs catty corner from me worked for an attorney. Well, Abercrombie was withholding my last paycheck. They wouldn't give it to me. They just, when I went to ask for it, because this was in a pay week as well when all this shit happened, when I went to go get it, they said, no, we're withholding your paycheck. I'm like, for what? Well, then they were withholding, not only were they withholding my paycheck, they were also withholding all of my sick and vacation time that I should have gotten paid out for that I never used. Because I never took time off, and I never went on vacation when I lived by myself. So they were like, yeah, we're not doing that. We're not paying you out for anything. And so she ended up calling on, it was probably illegal, but she called on behalf of the attorney and threatened legal action against them for wrongful termination and some other shit. And,
discrimination.
It was just all, she just like listed off like all the
stuff she saw in Law and Order.
All the shit she went to school for. She was like an associate attorney for like this bigger attorney. Like she just did all the
dirty work.
The dirty work for him, and then he would go in and lambaste the shit out of people. But Jamie calls and she's just like, so this is what's going to happen. He's coming back up in an hour, and you're going to have a check cut for him for all his vacation pay you owe him, for all this PTO, for all of for this last check for his last paycheck, or we will go to court
over some dumb shit.
Over like some serious dumb shit. Well, they ended up cutting the check, and I left, but I had a 401k that I didn't know about that I was putting into. So I requested...
Oh, the joys of being young.
Yeah, like I requested when I found out about it, I'm like, I need to get more information about this thing, this 401k thing I didn't know about. This was like a year later that I found out that I had it. That I'd been paying into for 3 years.
Yeah, because you only have so much time for you to transfer that over.
Right. Well, it was with an external company, so it would have just sat in that company's bank account and accrued interest, and but no one could give me any information. Well, finally, literally 9 years after I left the company, I get a letter from whoever the financial institution is. You have this account with us. We need to reconcile. And you have money here, so we need an address for. We're cutting you
a check,
a tax-free check, because whatever. Like, I didn't end up paying taxes on taking it, and it wasn't that much, but it had something to do with because they weren't being bought out by a company, by another bank. Mm-hmm. They were shutting down.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up getting like a $9,000 or $10,000 check,
just random,
for like 9 years after I quit / got fired from Abercrombie, that I had inquired about like a year after I left, and no one could give me any information, so I just wrote it off as nothing.
Yeah.
And then I promptly spent that money on dumb shit.
Too bad you didn't buy Bitcoin.
I know. Jesus. I'd be fucking rich right now. I'd be rolling.
We'd be flying to Indy right now.
We'd be flying to Indy, or we'd be in a G-Wagon. This is something. I'd fly to your house, land in your front yard with a helicopter, and then finish the flight.
With the rope ladder.
Get in. We're doing butt stuff.
Get in, loser.
But Abercrombie was always a fun. It was fun working there. Like, even working in I started out like at the old headquarters. It was on Broad Street, which was in an old Victoria. It was Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie in the same building. So you had all these hot women.
Was Structure part of all that too?
At one point, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to like Structure.
Yeah, Structure was because
they had like
Express
clothes that like fit like normal sized people.
Yeah. Yeah, Structure was basically Express for Men before Express for Men became Express for Men, and then they started doing all the lean cut and thin cut shit that no one can wear, because I'm not a bulimic, anorexic.
So who owns H&M? Is that part of?
I don't know who owns H&M.
What other companies fell under?
They had Victoria's Secret, Structure, Express, Bath and Body Works, White Barn Candle Company.
Oh.
And then there's been a couple others that they've shut down or sold off. Galleons was one. Galleons was
the sporting goods store?
Yeah. Galleons was owned by Wexner, and then he sold it off, and they promptly shut down. Probably within like a year or two. Structure got converted into Express for Men. I think Express is still owned by the Wexner company.
Isn't Banana Republic under that too?
No, Banana Republic is owned by Gap.
Okay. I get those two confused.
So Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic, that's all out of California. But yeah, it was always a good time being there. And then when the office moved from where they were in Reynoldsburg out to New Albany to like the crazy ass home office, like, it was nice. It was real nice. Fire pits everywhere. You could drink after hours.
I remember you talking about that when about 9/11.
9/11, yeah. And it was. They always threw the best parties, and of course, as the years went on, the parties got less and less. Like, the one year we had a beach party, and I don't remember where the party was because I was new to the area, so it could have been at Alum Creek. Mm-hmm. But they had like tiki torches set up, and you walked into like this huge pavilion that was right on the beach somewhere, and just drinking, that Jamaican beer that comes. They call
Red Stripe.
Red Stripes. Drinking Red Stripes, and just hanging out. Or they had an equestrian party where they actually rented out a horse barn and had everybody in there and did like cocktail hour and all this. Always did Christmas parties. Everybody got bonuses, like ridiculous bonuses for what you did. So
based off revenues.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've never worked for a company where you got bonuses. Like, luckily, like with the company I'm with now, we've gotten annual raises, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah.
But never like hey, here's a little something.
Yeah, so when I worked at Nationwide, they did. But their bonuses are shit. You hear that, Nationwide? Your bonus is shit.
Shite.
It is the worst. Like, it's an insult in most cases, because it could just be...
It's insult money?
It's literally like, you've got this insurance company that's making millions and millions and millions of dollars just from insurance.